Hello and welcome to the first episode of 2025 for the Game Sports Podcast. This is the January 6th week of the Game Sports Podcast in 2025, and we have three segments here on the game tonight. And the game is powered by, to remind you, 91N, that's 91 Network, and also featured on Spaces. In the first segment, I will be joined by Brendan McCarthy and Alex Parr, getting into our top shelf segment with updates around the National Hockey League and reaction to the World Junior Hockey Championship. In the second segment, I will be joined by Jordan Trudeau in our Chuck-a-Puck segment, where we'll be talking about the OHL Deadline with a particular focus, of course, on the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. In the third and final segment, it will be our In the Pocket segment, where I'll be joined by Justin Hykel, getting into reaction and update with the NCAA football college playoffs and the NFL playoffs coming up this week. Let's go. Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast, and it feels great to be back. It's been the holiday season. It's now 2025, January 2025, the beginning of January 8th to be exact, the date of this pre-recording. I am joined by no one else other than these two absolute beauticians, okay, from different areas of Ontario, okay? Dave McCaig here, the host of the game, located in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, the heart of the Great Lakes, okay? Brendan McCarthy joined us as co-host for the Top Shelf segment in the GTA area. Sorry, Brendan, I forget your exact city. I know how lame that sounds to my introduction right now. But
Ajax.
Ajax, perfect. All the way in Ajax. Now, Alex Parr, who is a trader from Sault Ste. Marie and moved to Ottawa, okay? Nonetheless, co-hosts here on the Game Sports Podcast, in particular with the Top Shelf segment, Alex, Brennan. Fellas, Brennan, going to you first. How's it going? How's your holidays been? And Happy New Year.
It's been solid, boys. A little tough transitioning back to work after a pretty busy holidays. I was in Sarasota over New Year's with the fam, and that was a good time. But it's a tough week transitioning back, just getting into the routine. You know, getting back and saying Happy New Year a bajillion times to your coworkers, and which, by the way, like, where is the line? Is it Jan 10th? Like, once you hit double digits to stop saying it? Like, I haven't seen you guys since 2024, so I can say Happy New Year, but where is, like, the line? Is it Jan 10th?
I would say by the end of this week, at the very latest. By the end of this week. Like, if you tell me Happy New Year, Jan 13th, fly a kite.
Yeah. It's like Jan 20th. Hey, Happy New Year. It's like, all right, enough of that.
Yeah, we're already past that. Alex, we talk to people in our line of work all the time, every day. So does Brendan. We all talk in our jobs. But I haven't seen either of you in your beautiful faces since 2024. And it's a great episode here for the first time of the year. I've always liked the New Year start on the episode for the game after we take our holidays. We're refreshed. It's hard getting back into it a little bit, like Brendan said. But nonetheless, Alex, how are you doing? How was your holidays? I know we're going to talk about one thing that happened during your holiday season, but we'll get to that in a moment. How was your holiday season?
It was good. I figured I'd bring in the new year in my Vladimir Guerrero Jr. jersey. I figure if it's going to be the last year that he wears this jersey, it should be the last year that I also wear it. So I figured I'd bring in the new year on a good note.
Look, I can't wait to get a Strike Zone. Connor and I have been talking about Strike Zone segment. I need to absolutely vent about the Toronto Blue Jays and that management. And maybe we all do, but we don't have time today to do that. But I am over this gaslighting bullshit that the Blue Jays do about spending money, and they do nothing. They made a good move with the Guardians this offseason. It was okay, but it's not going to put you over the top whatsoever. You're wasting prime talent. Pay Vlad. I'm not going to start. I'm already
blind
rank segment. Come on.
Yeah, blind rank your favorite management groups. One being the Blue Jays, two being Team Canada.
Oh, whoa. Is it sad that I think the Blue Jays management's better than the World Junior?
Wow, yeah, that's bad.
That's a perfect segue part. Perfect segue. World Juniors has come and gone. Another year. It's a part of the year that everyone looks forward to that's a hockey fan, okay? It's young, old, doesn't matter. Boxing Day comes on. You've had the holidays. What are you putting on? The Canada game if you're in Canada, right? You're putting on PSN. You're watching Canada in their debut in the tournament. And it's usually a pretty good game against a team that's pretty highly seeded most of the time anyways, that Boxing Day game and New Year's Eve, right? Those are their two games that you really got your eyes on. And this year, Canada decides to ice a team that, you know what, I wasn't too like against too much. There were players that were off the list. Seneke, Misa. I wasn't too mad about Parak not being there. I'm not a big fan of Parak.
But you're from the Soo, so of course you'd say that.
I'm not going to chirp someone like a young 18-year-old kid right now. He's had some behavioral questions, but nonetheless, that doesn't mean he's a bad person by any means, but talent wise, he could have been there. But this was a team that absolutely disappointed and shit the bed. Watch myself. Shit the bed in that tournament. Okay. Alex, I'm going to go to you first. You were there for the New Year's Eve game, the big game. There's the puck.
Ooh.
Right there. There's the video. There's the puck from the game. You had a waitress, I believe, at your game.
That was so cool.
I'll let you tell the story, but you were there New Year's Eve to watch USA basically take Canada to school a little bit. Okay. I thought the States could have actually won that game by a lot more. Okay. But overall, floor is yours, Parr. You're there New Year's Eve. What's your reaction about that game? Tell us stories from that, and also give us your reaction about this World Junior mess in Canada. Hockey Canada mess.
Everybody's been asking me like, oh, must have been a rough game to go to, eh? Nah, man, it was too cool. I've loved the World Juniors my whole life. I still think that's the best hockey there is. Any format, any league there is, I think it's the best. So to even be in the building, and I mean, Canada tied it in the third period to make it 1-1. Like, that building was going nuts. But you know what's really hard to do to keep the fans engaged? To keep them engaged when you're on the penalty kill, like, I don't know, 80% of the tournament. Like, it was so funny. Like, Easton Cowan's getting just chewed out by all the fans. Dave Cameron's getting chewed out by all the fans. Like, there was a bunch of people in my section who were all banding together to try to say they were going to go out there for the last period. They said, get these bums off the ice. We're going to go out there. God, I'm going to say, I'm going to do this in the same tone that Dave Cameron delivered everything in. I think Dave Cameron probably wasn't the best choice for this team. And I think you need somebody who's going to make the players actually go to practice, especially when that team can't make a tape-to-tape pass to save their life.
Can't make a tape-to-tape pass at all. That tournament was undisciplined, absolute joke of a performance. Brandon, sorry, Alex, keep going.
I don't really know if I have that much to add. It was just so frustrating to see. Like, one thing that I've loved being a Leafs fan and having Craig Berube is he's willing to just rip on a ref. Comes over, he doesn't agree with the call, he's going to let him know. Dave Cameron looked like he was inconvenienced to be anywhere near this tournament at any media, behind the bench, just like it looked like if you just took somebody from anywhere in life and just dropped them there and they just teleported and they were just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm here now. But they were probably trying to make the best of it. Dave Cameron just, I don't know. Dude, you didn't have to take this job. If you didn't want to be there, guess what? You don't have to be there. Didn't look engaged, didn't look like he cared. And I know it's easy to rag on him. He didn't put the team together either. I think it's just a catastrophic failure, top to bottom. And next year's team will be much, much better. When you have the board of governors, I don't know what level of management came out to say, like, this was wrong, we did a bad job, it'll be better. It will be. I guarantee it. And as a last note on this, stay off of the kids' Instagram pages chewing them out. You're a loser if you do that.
I agree to that. That'll be my.
So, yeah. That's I was gonna mention that too. Like, three big things stand out. Okay, it's unfortunate because, you know, the stage was set. You're playing in Ottawa, right? You're trying to rebound after a tough exit against Czechia the year prior. They didn't have an it guy. They did not have an it guy. The States had an it guy. His name is Ryan Leonard, and he was the MVP of the tournament, right? And, of course, they had a cast of other studs as well. The second thing is no one was accountable. Like, it seemed to just be excuses after excuses. And all we hear about in any league, right? In any league in hockey, the coaches and management, you got to be accountable, like preaching accountability to your players. Okay, but when you have to own it, own it. Like, enough of this BS about, oh, they were exhausted, and don't give that. And no one wants to hear that. Like, it's just like, it just looks bad and it's cringy. And the third thing is, you mentioned it too, Parr. I think they were just in their heads. Like, we're so inundated. Like, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, X, TikTok, whatever. These guys are 17, 18, 19, and they're on it. As soon as they're off the ice, they're scrolling. I guarantee you. And they see it, and they hear the hate, and they hear all the pressure and the crap they're taking. Like, they get in their heads, and they couldn't get it done. I think they just couldn't handle the pressure, and it's unfortunate because next year, guess where it is? In the States. So now the States are just brimming with confidence, and they are so good. I actually called them winning the tournament. Parr, you weren't on their last episode before.
Do you remember who Dave said would be in the finals?
I don't know, like Denmark or something.
And it's Sweden, I said.
Canada and Sweden.
Canada
Good
and
picks.
Sweden. So I actually I screwed up because I said Canada and U.S., but obviously they were in different groups, so I don't think that would have actually.
No, they were in the same group. They were in the same group.
Or sorry, they were in the same group, so I don't think they would have actually been able to play in the final. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I did have Canada, U.S., but I still had U.S. coming out on top. So I had a feeling that this team was they're so loaded, man, and like they're such a confident group. Ryan Leonard's a stud. Like, the Capitals got a good one, and yeah, I think it's even gonna be more difficult next year because then you're in the States and they're gonna go for the three-peat. So, yeah, top to bottom, Hockey Canada, man, not ideal.
It's just too bad that they were so tired that they couldn't even practice. Imagine how tired they're going to be when they have to go to the States. How tired do we think Latvia was having to fly across the world to come and play? How tired do you think they were in comparison to Canada? Canada got to stay in a hotel directly next to the CTC. None of the other teams were allowed to stay there. So how tired must they have been to drive an extra 30 minutes? They must have been so tired.
Yeah.
Maybe Canada shouldn't even put in a team next year and just put them down for their nap and let them sleep right through the Christmas break.
Like, honestly, that was brutal. Just brutal.
It was the whole tournament. It was undisciplined. There was no accountability from the coach to the players or at all with the coach. There was such a dysfunctional team all in all. And like you said, Brennan, no it guy. I had my eye on Gavin McKenna. I think the kid's sick. I think he's going to be who he's advertised.
I think he was there 1 year too early.
Yes, correct. But he got this experience, and I hope he comes back with a little bit of fire under his ass, given what happened this year. Easton Cowan, Leaf pick, as I sit here with my just one till I die shirt. Please, for the love of goodness. But Easton Cowan, look, I was sitting there watching and saying that I've always wanted Toronto to have a little bit of a pest. Someone who's not – he was more than a pest. The guy was literally taking undisciplined penalties, and so everyone was. It wasn't – the accountability on the players was not there, and you need to have a coach that's going to go around these young guys and not push them too far, but going to try to get the best out of them, but hold them accountable. Like Easton Cowan should not have went back on the ice after that penalty that he took in that States game. I believe it was in the States that he took that penalty. Can't remember right now, but I think it is.
Yeah, it was. I saw it.
Why he went on the ice blows my mind. You sit your ass on the bench, and you'll be lucky to play the first period next game. I don't give it to you. Because you weren't the guy as advertised on the ice. They were trying to center it to him, that he's this goal scorer, that he was going to be the guy to step up, right? But that was not there. The accountability was not there in general. And Hockey Canada I know we're believe next year, guys, but this is what I've been saying for a few years on this show. Hockey Canada is this way. Other countries are going this way.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the States, Sweden. I know they haven't won in 40 plus years, but they're still sending. Czechia.
They're good.
Czechia is going up like this. Canada has a problem at Hockey Canada. Right now, there's some sort of issue where the development is not there and the involvement, even from before. We're now entering Generation Beta in 2025. And there's Generation Alpha and Beta. Alpha's the ones coming up right now. And the enrollment is down before what it's been because of this. And people can look that up if they want, but it's not the same. Other countries are going up, and we're staying this way. We're staying this way. They're going to continue to pass us, and you think next year things are going to change? Maybe the team will be better. But I'm not confident this team is going to win the World Juniors next year, given who can return for Czechia, the States,
Finland, Sweden, like
Finland. I can't forget Finland. Geez. Like
it used to just be Canada, and maybe it was easier back then. Like just Canada, U.S., and like maybe Finland or Sweden will like give them a run. Now it's like, what was it? Kazakhstan and Latvia were the only ones who didn't make it, right? And the rest, yeah.
So, no, Latvia played in the quarterfinals. It was Germany and Kazakhstan.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, Kazakhstan and Germany. But again, Germany can surprise you some years too.
Yeah.
So really, it's just like, obviously, the talent and competition is growing, and it's great to see. But it's also like, if you're Canada, it's like, it's not just like a walk to the final anymore. You got to go through, a really talented, competitive group and a field that's like just continues to get better. Like Czechia is so good, Sweden's good, Finland's good, Germany, they'll surprise you. I guess really Latvia even beat Canada this year. So what does that tell you? Like I know it was a shootout.
Embarrassment, dude. I was so mad at that. That is brutal. Why did I waste my time watching? Get the goaltender credit.
It was a great game. It was a really good game.
The goaltending was great on Latvia's side, right?
Oh, man.
The European goaltending, too, is always been stellar. Always been great European goaltending. And if the players can get as good as the European goaltending has been as the last few years, Canada's in trouble. The development is like this. Like I said, in Canada, other countries are going up. And Czechia, States, all these countries are going up, and we're stuck. So Hockey Canada's got to get its shit together because it's not where it needs to be. End of story.
Exactly.
So, fellas, because of time, there's probably more that we can dissect there. We're going to get to we're not going to talk about an overall NHL update. We're going to dive right into our report cards for the halfway point of the year. So, in the NHL this year, we're just hitting the over 40 games point, where there's 42, 41, 43, 40 games have been played. Almost 40 if you're Ottawa, across the league at this point of recording. And we're going to go around quickly to give the grades on on the Canadian teams that you feel. And then if you have some bonus teams you want to throw in there, feel free. And we'll see if we can do it within our time frame here. Someone I'll go to first, who I think is quicker than me and Brennan. Parr.
Should we not do it like, should we just say a team and then all give our grades for that team?
Sure. I love that.
Yeah, that's better.
I love that. Okay, let's start from
here. I got it. Let's start bottom up. We're going to start with the Montreal Canadiens.
Love that. Okay. Brennan first.
So,
you can lead this one.
Man, they've been rolling of late. I'm gonna give them a B+. Like, they're not in the A range yet, but like B+. Like a recency bias, I'd love to see them make the playoffs, man. I'm gonna give them a B+ right now. I can't stand half those Metro teams. I'm not watching boring Jersey versus Carolina Saturday in April at 4 p.m. The Bell Center deserves playoff hockey. I'm giving them a B+. I hope it goes into the A range, but man, they're on the up and up right now.
I'll say B. To keep it, so I'll say B.
I'm going to go the lowest. I'm going to say a C. You can't just be good for a couple of weeks and tell me that you're a playoff team.
Fair enough.
Next up, very close to them, tied in the standings with the Ottawa Senators.
Brennan.
B.
I'm actually going to say B+. I think they've always been to maybe be a wild card team this year. They're meeting expectations. B+ to me. I'm hovering. I'll say B+ still. I think they're going to make it interesting for a wild card. I'm saying that B+.
For me, I was happy on my report card to get a B. To me, that felt like a good grade. To me, a B should be a playoff team, and I still don't think the Senators are there. I think they're close, and I'm going to give them a C+, but I don't think they deserve that B quite yet.
Tough grader.
Who do we got next? We got the Calgary Flames next.
Ugh.
Yeah, right?
It's like a C-. Just next.
The Fuku Kaka. I had to go with a C. I'll say C.
I'm also going to go with a C because that's their logo, and they're just mid, right? So
you didn't want to throw a dash next to it too?
Oh, no. I'll go easy on them, but I won't go easy on the Vancouver Canucks. F.
Oh, okay.
You cannot have JT Miller and Elias Pettersson in some TMZ drama-filled BS every goddamn day. You need to figure it out, or you will go nowhere. And until you figure that out, you're getting a big fat F.
Wait, so F to figure it out or F
Yeah.
fail?
Both.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
F.
Well, I'm going to give them a D just because like I still think they can sneak in, and obviously it's like it's a big story right now. It's also like the bleak of winter, so I feel like it's like blown up as well. So I feel like they could still get in and make some noise. I'll give them a D right now, but let's see, because I still like Vancouver playoff hockey. That drama team, that's basically what it is, Parr. It's TMC bullshit, but I still like that team in the playoffs. They were fun to watch last year. They almost beat the frickin' Oilers. They were right there. So
with their third string goalie.
With their third stringer. So yeah, give them a D right now though. Let's let them get going here.
Tough grade for me too. D-, not meeting expectations. So I'm a tough grader with that when you're not meeting expectations. So D-.
Sticking in the West with the Edmonton Oilers.
I'll just say first, I'm giving them a B+. I still think this is a good
I'll give
team.
them a B+ too. They're kind of just there. You'd think they'd be kind of, maybe they're holding out for the playoffs, but they're kind of just like floating around. I don't know. Like
Oilers B-. You can't show me back-to-back brutal starts to seasons and convince me that you guys can still do some damage. Sure, you went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals last year, but I think a team that repeats two just awful beginning of the seasons, there's something to be said there. I'm giving them a B-.
Okay.
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Brendan, you can go. You got it.
I give them an A-, man, and I think that's a pretty fair grade. Like, all things considered, I think up until this point, they're undefeated in 2025, but you look at all these players, the difference of Keith manning the bench versus Berube. Like, Connor Dewar had a successful scrap last night.
Yeah.
Against Joel Farabee. Like, that guy can chuck him. He's Manitoba boy, and you just think a lot of these guys, I'm like, okay, that's the Berube effect. That's the Berube effect. Doesn't matter who it is, Matthews or a fourth liner. And I think all things are clicking right now. Stolarz is still on the shelf, but when he comes back, like, look out, man. I think an A-, I think even like a objective hockey fan would say the same, no?
I'm gonna say A because again, meeting expectations, being the top in the East at this time of while we're recording, consistency in net, consistency on the back end, and there's been somewhat consistency up front. I say somewhat because a lot of the output has been from the core four, right? They've actually really stepped up. I think they could use that secondary scoring now, which we haven't said too much about the Leafs, but that third line depth scoring, I think something they should really continue to look at as the season goes along and the deadline comes. But again, A, because the goaltending, we haven't seen it like this since I don't know. I don't even know if you want to count Cujo and Balfour in these times, right? Goaltending's been great. Defense, I haven't seen a great, well put together. I'm not saying they're all-star studs, but a nice put together team that plays a system. Berube effect, A.
And when you said we were doing grades, I had to think about the Leafs for a second. And I'm going to say an A- as well. You're leading your division. I mean, I don't know. You're leading your division with the previous Stanley Cup winners in it. But yeah, feel free to, whoever's watching this, clip this. And when the Leafs get bounced by Boston in Game 7 again in the playoffs, you just throw this in our face. I know what we're saying.
Yeah, fine. Just do it. Whatever.
Yeah. But we'll wrap it up with also another a 58-point team, second in the league, the Winnipeg Jets.
A+. I won't have much to say. Just A+. I think they're great. I think Winnipeg's a very, 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 very good hockey team.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, back in the fall, I was like, they're going to come back to earth. What were they on, 15-0 to start the season or something like that? And yeah, like, have they kind of like been steady? Like, I don't think it's not been a drop. Like, Calgary had a fantastic start to the season, and they've dropped, like, completely dropped. Hence our grade for them. But Winnipeg has just been steady Eddie. I mean, they're 2 points shy of 60, and we're 8 days into January. So A+.
I think the plus is reserved only for a Stanley Cup champion season. Are they on their way? Probably. But I'm going to give them an A. That's the highest grade I can give during the regular season, though.
Ooh, I love Parr is tough. Man.
Yeah.
Thank goodness you weren't.
But we're talking right now, though, right? Like Like, okay, you're adding in other factors, so, like, because that's like even like the Habs too, right? Like,
you had different teachers in school, and some were a harder grader than others. You know, we got Dave, who's like your PE teacher. He's just giving you, a good grade no matter what. You showed up. Me, I'm your math teacher who doesn't really like you.
Parr is like a really tough, like, emotionless TA. He's like, I don't care that you had an 89 average in grade 12. When you walk into these doors, it's gonna be a humble C for you.
Exactly. You should be thanking me that you got a C.
I like C's in school. It means captain in hockey, bro. That's what I thought. That's what I thought it meant. No, fellas.
But guys, just quickly on I was saying this today to a couple buddies as well, and like, I so desperately want the Habs and the Sens back in the playoffs. Like, those fans and that, like, the buildings are electrifying when they're in the playoffs. The Brendan Gallagher's, the Brady Tkachuk's, like, those guys are playoff. I know he hasn't been in the playoffs yet, but Brady Tkachuk just screams like he would go to another level in the playoffs. Brendan Gallagher, we've seen in past seasons, he's a playoff performer. Like, it gives me a headache to think an opening round matchup is going to be one of those, like, boner Metro teams that no one will be watching. It'll be like Isles and, like, Devils, and it's like, I literally have no interest in watching this. So it'd be great to just even get probably 2 is a stretch, but even one of them, like, come on, give it to me.
Let me ask you this before we go, just quick answers on each. One more grade outside of a Canadian team that you would state could be high or low. Just give a grade about a team that you want. Brandon first.
Well, I love Sid, man, and Pitt is right there. They're hanging on, and if we get to see Pitt in the playoffs, one last year with Sid, I'll give them a B-.
Okay, Parr.
I'm going to give the Wild an A-, just purely based on the fact that nobody expected them to be hanging around in the company that they are hanging around in, and I think they're doing great. So let's go see, the Flower go get another long run, maybe on the bench, but I'd still like to see that guy go deep.
For me, I'm going to give 2 Fs to the Rangers and the Predators. Enough said. I think that is, I don't need to say anymore. If I could do a double F like Parr did, double Fs all over, triple F. That is where I got.
And think about in September, everyone was just like salivating. I love that word, Davey. Like, over the Preds, like, all these offseason acquisitions, and the Rangers, and I'm like, no, like, I'm actually happy that like those 2 teams, man. Everyone just goes there, especially Nashville, because it's just like you can kind of unwind and party city. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Fellas, we talked World Juniors, talked about your experience, Parr there. We talked about halfway report cards with Canadian teams, plus a little bonus ingredient there for our listeners. Again, not starting the year off right with time, but hey, we had a great segment here, fellas. It was awesome to talk about everything with you. Next week, back to our blind rankings, back to a little bit more of the interactive, and a lot more to come here on the game in our top shelf segment. But Brendan, I want to say thank you for taking the time as always, my friend.
Well, you said 15 minutes, and Parr was right. Now we're at 28 minutes. So
just don't even. Dude, when he said we were going to record at 5:30, I was getting my dinner prepped, okay? I knew that we weren't going to be ready to go.
You guys really, it's just kidding. Parr.
Hey, New Year's resolutions, Davey, doesn't count the first week. Don't worry.
Okay, we're getting a cancellation this week. I like that. That's good. Parr, my friend, I love the Vlad reference today. Thank you for that. I need to get spoiled about the Blue Jays on a hockey segment.
Sorry to bring up those bad feelings.
Friggin' brutal. But I loved to hear about your World Junior experience. That must have been such a good experience, man. But thanks for coming on as always. We'll be back next week, dude.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks, guys.
Play some COD in a bit or something. But that aside, we got more here coming on the Game Sports Podcast. Thanks again to Brendan and thanks to Alex. Don't go anywhere. We got more. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig continuing to host you this evening. And like I mentioned on the top of the show, the first show of 2020 2025. And let me tell you, it's an action-packed week. We had a lot to talk about. We talked about NHL update, the NFL playoffs around the corner, which we're going to talk about in the next segment with Justin. Obviously, we talked about the World Juniors. Okay, there was obviously a lot of points to get to and get into these updates. And, of course, to remind listeners, this is obviously a pre-recording. We do our pre-recording here on the Game Sports podcast. So obviously between segment 1 and 3 and this segment 2, we're recorded on different days, but guess what? Still relative content. And the reason why I mentioned that is because we purposely postponed segment 2 until after the trade deadline, the full week in the Ontario Hockey League. And obviously today was where we were actually hoping that we're going to have a special guest join myself and who I'm going to introduce in just a moment, not Justin Trudeau, my goodness, Jordan Trudeau. So that's a fun little point. Jordan Trudeau. We did expect to have a guest join us, Peter Florio, but unexpected conflict for the schedule. And he may jump on while we're talking. Who knows? But nonetheless, this is Chuck a Puck, the first segment, the first piece of 2025 with Chuck a Puck. And as I move slightly to my right, and if you're on video, you get to see there is now a Soo Greyhound puck in the background. And if things get inappropriate, I might have to chuck that puck. Don't go yet. Well, without further ado, as I get through that opener and explanation here in segment 2, reminding you again, Chuck a Puck here on the Game Sports Podcast, where we talk locally. We're in the Game Sports Podcast located in Sault Ste. Marie, and we talk Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, purely Soo Greyhounds podcast content here in this segment. Introducing Jordan Trudeau. Trudes, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Dave.
Happy to have you back. Happy to have Chuck a Puck back going again. I missed you for the couple weeks, buddy. I missed you.
Yeah, I missed it too. It was a busy holiday for me. I don't know about you, but glad to be back at it. Glad to be back in the routine, the swing of things. And it's always fun coming back for Christmas break because I always feel like I'm on my phone. My past week, I've been on it a lot. So checking every day, every minute of every day, trying to check and see what movement is happening. It's an exciting week in the OHL land. So excited to get into it.
And
second half of the season.
Second half's going to be exciting, and there was obviously a lot to get to this week. And as I mentioned, we don't have our special guest join us, which we were very excited for to have, but that's okay because you still get myself and Trudes. Okay, you still have us here on Chuck.
We're still here.
And you can still interact with us on these when these get uploaded and let us know what you think, because we're going to go through all the trades that happened in the Ontario Hockey League. Soo Greyhounds focused, remind you. Then we have some other news we get to, and we only have it in a short period of time. So, Trudes, we talked World Juniors on the show already. I was hoping to bring it up with you, but you know what? We just don't have the time. But you can give your quick reaction if you'd like before you jump into the trades. I think it'd be fair to give you a piece of talk because obviously Gibson, Soo Greyhound, that was a part of the World Juniors. And obviously this being our major junior and OHL and Soo Greyhound's focus segment, it probably would have made more sense to talk about on the segment. I'm sorry, but two other people beat us, wanted to really vent about it. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to vent about it if you'd like. And then I want you to dive right into the trades and let's get into it with the OHL deadline that just passed.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dave. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was just obviously disappointing to see Canada lose like that for a second straight year. My heart broke for Gibby. I didn't agree with the call, as a lot of hockey fans did, not only Canadian fans or Canadian people. Like I feel like there was a lot of hockey fans out there that didn't agree with the call, but you know, my heart breaks for him. And I thought he played outstanding all tournament. I thought he represented the Greyhounds and his hometown himself really, really well. Yep. And the biggest thing I think is that's really cool is that you look at all these countries that are really, really getting better in hockey, and they're doing a lot better job of developing their players. Yeah, the parity is getting a lot better, and that's just really cool to see. It's cool to look back on now. It's cool to look back on Latvia beating Canada. It wasn't in the moment, but that's a record-breaking moment. We witnessed history. So it's always an interesting tournament to watch. And the kids did great on the team. They played their hearts out. I think they did everything they could to win that game. just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as far as, back in Greyhound land, obviously Andrew Gibson was heavily rumored to be being traded. And he was one of the 2 deals that the Greyhounds made at the deadline. So one was the big one, Andrew Gibson. He went to the Oshawa Generals. He netted Brady Smith number 2 now for the Greyhounds.
Brady Smith.
And yeah, so now they have 2 players named Brady Smith, not to get confused with the other Brady Smith that they already had on their roster. And he netted 8 draft picks. So out of that, 1 second and 1/3 notable picks. And then just before the overage trade deadline on Thursday, the Greyhounds traded their beloved netminder Charlie Schenkel. He went to the Kingston Frontenacs, who they play tonight. And it looks like Charlie's going to be getting the start for them. So it's a perfect little send-off for him here in Sault Ste. Marie. And in exchange, they got the overage netminder Nolan Lalonde and 3 other draft picks, notably their 3rd-round pick back in 2026. So the big takeaways from the trades, 11 picks in total they got for the 2 players. And the 1 overage goalie who they had to swap with, but most notably 11 draft picks, and then the 16-year-old former first rounder Brady Smith. So just a little bit of update on the 2 new players the Hounds acquired. Nolan Lalonde, he's an OA goaltender, just like Charlie was. Charlie's a bit of an upgrade from him. So Charlie goes to Kingston, who's trying to contend for a championship. Yep. Lalonde comes here to back up Landon Miller. He won a Memorial Cup last year with Saginaw, so he's got that experience. He's drafted to the NHL. I think he'll work well for Landon Miller, who's expected to be the starter next year, right? So he'll be a good mentor for him. And then the Brady Smith was, I think that he was the player that Kyle Raftis was targeting the whole time. 16 years old, 1st-round pick. He got 132 points in minor midget last year. So he's got a high ceiling. Skates very well. Seems to have great vision. I watched a Generals game last week when he was playing, and I really liked what I saw. He seems to be quite talented. So he's poised to join this talented young team for a contending run in the next few years. So it's going to be a rough few months, but hopefully it'll pay off down the road.
I think so. And the Brady bunch seems to be the thing with
the Smiths. Yes. The Brady bunch and the Smiths. So unique situation. So the Greyhounds have 2 Brady Smiths. Brady R. Smith. We got to use middle initial. Brady R. Smith, number 12, who the Greyhounds drafted in 2023. He's been on the team all year. Yeah. He's 17. Now we have Brady T. Smith, who was just acquired from the Oshawa Generals. And to make it more confusing, he's number 11.
Oh, right before.
And Brady R. Smith is number 12. So they're only 1 number apart, too. So I'm glad to see they're having a little fun with that.
Yeah, the page is fun. It's great. If your name's Brady, they're gonna like you for the Greyhounds. Okay.
Yeah. So we got 3 Bradys.
Come on over, right? If you're
Brady Smiths.
If you're a Brady Smith, if you're a Brady Kachuk Jr. I don't know. if there's another Brady,
there's another Brady Smith in the league too that plays for Sudbury. So I say we trade for him next year. Let's get all the Brady Smiths.
And then Brady Smith cubed on the Soo
Greyhounds. Yes, Brady
Smith cubed. That is epic. And honestly, the trade that we knew that was coming was Gibson. It's just a matter of where, right?
Yeah.
That was the question. That was what everyone was predicting in Soo Greyhound land was, where's he going to go? Is it London? But after London traded for Allen, it kind of just moved that away. And favorites were, of course, Oshawa was a team we were talking about. You know, we mentioned Kingston. We still mentioned London as someone to be as a notable, right? There was options out there, but him going to Oshawa made the most sense, especially from a return perspective.
Yeah.
To be transparent, I do see, and I'm not going to be diving into on the pure negative side of things that, there's been a lot of points brought up and what should have been done, but there's always going to be that question about what should have been, what could have been. And there's always a lot of backstory. I'm going to tell you from someone who has coached in junior hockey, never mind played. I didn't play OHL. Just remind everybody I didn't play there. I coached the junior A ranks, such as where the Sioux Thunderbirds are, Beavers. The coaching staff that I was a part of was Blind River. Just so you're aware, I wasn't a part of the Soo Greyhounds or anything. But what I can share is that there was a player that was somebody that was a draft pick on the team that we had. And there's a reason why that player was with us, because of the specific region, but there was also a certain expectation to try to help development. Okay, so I'm going to say that happened over a decade ago when I was 21. I'm now a 33-year-old, and I stopped coaching at the age of 22. So I am 11 years removed from the coaching, but I'm not 11 years removed from the game. So I can tell you right now that when it comes to certain trades, especially from the junior level, if it's junior B, junior A, major junior, whatever, tier 2 junior, major junior, whatever level you want to consider it being, where you're located, development is a key part. And if you are drafted by an NHL team, the OHL team is going to have a lot of connection with that NHL team in terms of player development. Now, what I mean and why I say that is because, yes, tier 2 junior to tier 1 junior is different than tier 1 junior to the NHL. It is, but the idea doesn't change. Okay. So when it comes to Owen Allard, when it comes to guys like that are drafted, I know that people were assuming him to get traded, but for him to be the age that he is, the movement to try to find a fit, but also him being drafted, that is something that people have to consider. All right. There is a piece of development. And I'm not sitting here saying that I know the Utah Hockey Club said that the Soo Greyhounds had to keep him. I don't know that, but we have to predict and know that there was some involvement in knowing where he might go. And I'm sure Utah would have loved for him to go to another team to be a first liner and contend for a championship. But maybe they had a little bit of a point saying, hey, well, is his ice time going to be more effective? And is he going to get more ice on the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds? And with him coming, if I recall correctly, I don't have this up in my notes, but I believe he had some injuries this year to deal with, right? So his health could be a priority too, and also could have been a concern with other teams. There's a lot of points, and I understand people are frustrated with the Owen Allard a little bit and wondering why he wasn't traded. And to be honest, I think the Hounds should have looked to trade him, try to get something for someone, right? I'm a firm believer of asset management, but there's a lot of moving pieces, right? There's things that we don't know. As a fan, I understand that frustration and wanting that for your organization, but also understanding in a different way, but getting it. Trudeau can relate to. You've been around the rink in the OHL. I'm not saying you've been a GM, but you've been a part of the Hound organization, and it's a business, okay? And that people have to understand that maybe you don't get the trade that you want, maybe it's not right, or maybe there's other people, or in this case, maybe a team involved that could not have been. So if there's the one trade that I wish would have happened, sure, that is Owen Allard. That is one. I think that they could have looked at something there. And also there's probably a couple others that they could have looked at to move. But I think they've traded the player with the best value they can get. They got a very good return. But ultimately, there's a lot of things involved and a lot of moving pieces. But yes, I will agree with people that Allard should have been traded, but there's a lot more to that. But the negativity towards Raftis, and this might get people going by saying this, I still don't grade his trade deadline as the worst trade deadline ever, or not saying it's the best thing that he hit home runs on everything, but it wasn't a failure of a deadline. I still think there was successes because of how they built for the future.
Yeah,
Torn.
Newell Neward and Owen Allard both are Utah property, right? Yeah. So there's got to be obviously the NHL team that they're both signed with probably obviously wants them to stay together, right? Like, I mean, that's just
you think sense, we don't know,
right? Like, I don't know, but like that would just make sense. That would make the most sense. Yeah. I don't know. He did Kyle Raftis did what he had to do. You know, he sold off a couple big assets. I would have liked to see Allard traded. He's a great player. He played the World Juniors last year. He's point per game this year. Yeah, he's ran into some injuries. He's a great player. I don't mind seeing him in a Hound uniform to end the year. And I just think that, maybe they didn't shop him. Maybe there wasn't a deal, like, it has to be a two-way street for a trade, right? Like, somebody has to like want the player in exchange for, what the Greyhounds want in return, and whatever you value, like, then there's terms of value. So like, what's he worth? Some teams may not be willing to give that up. Like, there's a lot of moving parts to a trade, right? In the OHL. So that's one area I wish we could have, dealt him. I don't know if there's anybody else other than him, and they probably could have tried to deal them together. But then that's tough too, because Allard is an overager, and you're only allowed 3 overager spots. Nord is a import. You're only allowed 2 import spots, right? Most teams have those spots locked in already. So,
and I'll be transparent.
It's hard market. It's hard market. Either way, they're gonna help this team down the stretch. They're like those two, and like NHL drafted, NHL signed. Like, they're gonna mentor the young group that the Greyhounds have. So that's gonna benefit. Like, that's gonna benefit us down the road too. Seeing how they work, seeing how they prepare. So like, that's gonna give a lot of eye opener to the young players on the team right now for when they're in Owen Allard's shoes and Newell Nord's shoes. So they're going to benefit this team.
So I'll say I will just say, just for the record for everybody, they should have traded Allard and Nord. Yes, I forgot about Nord to mention, but yes, I agree. They should have traded him. It's
a double-sided coin.
Yeah.
Like, you trade them, okay, you get more draft picks, maybe a couple younger players. You keep them around. The players that you currently have, your current roster, gets to see how they operate, how they prepare, gets advice on, how to play at the higher levels. They both went to the World Juniors, so they've had that experience, right? So they get to share all that experience with the younger players too. Yeah. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to each side of the coin.
There is.
So, but bottom line is they're Greyhounds. They're finishing their junior career as Greyhounds. So, it's going to benefit us one way or another.
Yeah. The big trade happened that people were expecting to have anyway.
Yeah, I was relieved when it happened.
Yeah.
So
if that didn't happen, if Gibson didn't get traded, then we say failure. Then
that would have been tough.
Yeah.
Then it would have been tough to bid for a Memorial Cup in 2027.
Yes.
And now they are lined up for that.
Yeah.
They are lined up for that now.
Yeah. Well put. That's a topic that I want to make sure we go back to, not today, but
for sure,
future show, because we've come so close. But I think a reason is the way the building is. But I'm not going to go there yet. I'll table that for a second. I will table that. Overall, the Soo Greyhounds trade deadline grades. Before actually we get into that, do you want to touch on more of the trades that happened? Trude's like the two that happened. Dive into.
Yeah, sure. There was. Honestly, it wasn't too huge. I feel like Kingston made a lot of big moves. They acquired 3 players from the Spirit, and they gave up like tons of draft picks for it. Like, I think like 4 seconds, 6 thirds. They acquired Joey Willis, Will Bishop, and who's the other guy? Will Bishop, Joey Willis, and Ethan Hay. That was the other player. So like 3 players with Memorial Cup experience. Henry Muse went to Sudbury from Ottawa. He's a defenseman, NHL drafted. I mean, most of the activity was to the Eastern Conference. So London made their big moves, and then Barrie loaded up. They got last year's leading scorer, Anthony Romani. So it's going to be a dogfight over in the East to see, because Kingston, Barrie, and Oshawa all made big moves. So that's going to be a heavy top 4.
So much. They mortgaged. That's called mortgaging your future.
They did. They did.
You're believing in that core. You're believing in that team that you're making a run.
Yes.
You really got to say that these pieces, I'm buying all these pieces. I'm making these moves because it is going to put my team over the top. This is where you go to ownership and the fans saying that all the trust. And on the other side of that coin, speaking of double-sided coin, by doing that, that should instill confidence into the team. Because I will tell you from a culture in a locker room, if you see your ownership buying and really selling for future, that means you're believing in the now. And if you're in that locker room, you need to say, we can do it. Our ownership believes in it. I feel that they can trust us to bring the best out on the ice, game in and game out. So that's got to give a morale boost in the locker room, which is always a hidden factor and a hidden gem when it comes to these trade deadlines. Because when you are in the rooms with the trade deadlines, and I've heard stories from players that have played the National Hockey League, the room gets buzzing when you bring in these players. That excitement's there. Yeah, some friends have moved on. Some may get cut. Some may get sent down, depending on what league that you're playing in. But you see these bodies come into the locker room, and you're like, shit, first swear. That guy is going to come in this locker room and make a change on this team, and we got to be pumped, right? And you're on the bench, you're on the ice with this guy. It's going to get you excited. Kingston did that effect. I think Oshawa bringing in Gibson, the defensive caliber that he is, puts their defense over the top. London's London. Okay, they have a good team, even though they have the biggest undisciplined player as their top guy, Leaf pick Easton Cowan. My goodness. And I'm referencing the World Juniors there. It's just, I think there was a lot of moves and a lot of picks moved, but Kingston was on the forefront of that by mortgaging their future. But that's got to get to that team. And I won't be surprised if that team plays with a bit more of an edge. And they should definitely be a team starred by everybody going forward, in my honest opinion.
Oh yeah. Those three teams over in the East it's gonna be interesting to see who comes out on top. And also different because usually it's the Western Conference that's stronger. This year's the Eastern Conference is much stronger. So, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a rough second half of the year, but it'll pay off hopefully in the future, in the next 2-3 years, for this young Greyhounds team.
What do you
I have 3 shout outs I wanted to do in this, just short, to some players. So Caden Carlisle, he's actually committed to Notre Dame for the 2025-26 season. So congratulations to him. He's a former 5th round pick of the Greyhounds. And with the new rule, now he can go on and get his education in the NCAA rather than Canadian university. So that's super, super exciting for him. And he's always been known for his being reliable defensively. You know, he's never going to light up the score sheet, but constantly quiet presence on defense. He's the captain this year. He's been a huge part of the Greyhounds defense since 2021-2022 season. Big congrats to him moving forward in hockey and academically. Second shout out, I want to say probably my favorite player to watch over the past few seasons. Got him back here. Charlie Schenkel. We'll get to send him off tonight poetically off the ice as he moves on with his new journey in Kingston. Pushing for him. Hopefully he can lead them to a championship. Huge congrats to Charlie.
Fan favorite.
And lastly, third mention. This was mentioned on the Guelph broadcast the game before the break. Justin Cloutier, Greyhound's 19-year-old, he has now played in 242 straight games. So he's got an Ironman streak. Since he's started his career in 2021-22, what an outstanding milestone for that young man. Great leader and very effective player. He's fun to watch out there. Always brings the energy. So congrats to those 3. And here's to another half of a season of Greyhounds hockey.
And I'm going to say right now, Justin Cloutier will sign in Pittsburgh.
Is that your prediction?
He will.
I'll second it.
He would be a Pittsburgh Penguin by season and the year after at the latest.
I could see it happening.
Dubas is already on.
I don't know why. Maybe some Kyle Dubas is their GM.
Some guy.
He might know Justin Cloutier a little bit.
I think there's some familiarity with with that GM and with the Pittsburgh Penguins who are starting to climb a little bit. If you're talking NHL standings a little bit, I thought they were going to be toast, but they're staying in there, those Penguins. But number 87 if you have 87 on your team. Anything.
You always got a shot with him.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I'll ask you one thing before we send off the chuck a puck onto the ice for the first time in 2025. Rate the Greyhounds deadline as a grade. We've done that on previous deadlines with shows, but now we get to finally do it with the Hounds. What do you rate the deadline as a grade? A+ highest, F being
lowest. Well, I mean, my profession, I am a hard marker. No, I'm just kidding. So I don't know. I give it a B. Like, I don't really think you're always gonna have criticism, and you're never gonna please everybody, right? And that's anything you do. Yeah. So I don't know. They did what they had to do, and we'll see what the future holds. I think there's only time will tell for this evaluation of this deadline. So I'd give it a B right now. Some people might disagree, but that's okay.
And for me to end it, I'm going to say B-. I'm also a tough marker, and again, as I spoke for 3 minutes before, we don't know the background about a lot of things, but some of the players that did move, Allard, Nord, and to be honest, I kind of would have looked at moving Kluche or something, but he could be a big part of the team next year, right? It's just, I could have imagined some of those 19-year-olds that could have fetched quite a wicked return that maybe we don't know. But the main two, Allard and Nord, those are the two that I expect that I would have moved as the GM. But again, we don't know. So that's why I'm going to be a little bit tough on a B-. If those two did move, I would give it an A. I would have given it an A, absolutely slam dunk. But kudos to getting Charlie moved and Gibson. There's some value returned there, and especially with the Gibson trade, capitalize on that value. And I'll say thumbs up to him for his dedication to Sault Ste. Marie community, from the Thunderbird level up to the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And obviously what he did the World Juniors, he was their best defenseman. I don't care what anyone says from a two-way end. I don't care about that call at the end. Call.
I felt so bad for him.
Oh, he did.
Oh my goodness.
Yikes.
And the Baudouin hit too. Like, in my opinion.
What's the penalty?
Well, like, in my opinion, like, in both of those instances, the opposing player was trying to make a move to avoid the hit. So, like, as a defending player, like, how, like, as a ref, you're expecting the player to just kind of stop on a dime once they've committed to a hit? I mean,
and that's the core.
What are we teaching, right? Like, what are we? It was frustrating, but like, that's hockey.
It is, and that's the core guy is such.
That's hockey.
Yeah, that's hockey. But
and yeah, like the Allard, and we could go on all day. We can debate all day, but at the end of the day, they're here.
Yeah,
and
it's good that they're here. It's cool that we get to see guys that are NHL picks that are here. I'm not in any which way criticizing. I only say B- because I'm an asset management believer, but we still don't know. But I will say, as a fan, Allard and Nord being here is very good to watch. And while you're in those seats, or as your ears are tuning into those games on radio or on other means of watching, enjoy that they are here, because Allard played in the juniors last year. Noor played in the World Juniors. We have some talent here, and those are good hockey players to watch that we will remember in this very historic piece of talent that we've had here in Sault Ste. Marie. There's been a lot of good players that have come through here, and there's still players that we're seeing that. But now we can start really selling Brady Bunch shirts. I think the Soo Greyhounds really have to capitalize.
With the three faces. Yeah, definitely.
Capitalize on that. 100%. And don't hesitate to send us 10% of those royalties for giving you that idea now for the shirts. But nonetheless, Trudes, it's been fun for the first segment of Chuck a Puck in 2025. Obviously, there's a lot getting into this year. There's still another half of season. It's going to be interesting how that goes. And I obviously got media passes to the games. I know you go to the games. We're going to have to do a bit more coverage live on location, which we'll plan this year. We'll plan some clips, or we'll plan stuff as we go.
Sweet.
Very excited to bring you some of the new stuff that the game will be featuring from a local perspective and national perspective. So, Trudes, thank you for taking the time. And we'll be back here next week for another segment.
Awesome. Can't wait. Thanks, Dave.
Awesome. That's Jordan Trudeau. As I said, I called him the wrong name at the beginning as a joke. And
sort of as
it
happens all the time.
But I'm sure people get some laughs out of that. But again, thank you to Trudes. But we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to have a sip of water. I might have to get a drink beside me for when we talk football. But I'm going to have Justin Hykel joining yours truly, talking college football and the National Football League as we go to the end of the segment. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. David McCaig continuing to host you this evening, getting to our final segment of tonight's episode. I am joined for our first segment of In the Pocket in 2025, but it's not our first episode segment of In the Pocket. It's obviously our 8th season of In the Pocket, which is sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario's best sports bar over a handful of years in a row. Sault Ste. Marie best wings multiple years in a row. Look, you want a great sports atmosphere. You want some delicious wings. You want a cold brew, or you just want to have some good grub or be around good atmosphere all in all with friends, family, whichever the case may be. Make sure you go to Sports Center in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario's best sports bar. And if you're from outside of Sault Ste. Marie, just check it out. Give it a Google. Sports Center Bar and Grill. Go watch the game that you want to watch, football, hockey. They got everything on the TV. I will warn you, the owner is a Montreal Canadiens fan. So that creates a good little rivalry between me and him, and also my fellow co-host here, the one and only Justin Hykel. Hike, my friend, Happy New Year. We were talking about in the first segment that you can say that until the end of this week. That is it. After you say Happy New Year after the end of this week, and it was the first time I've seen you since we've had our last recording and our Christmas break, vacation, New Year, all that stuff in our vacation. So I get a freebie to say it to you, but now this is the final week we can say it. But I'll say it one more time. Happy New Year, Justin.
It's good to be here. Happy New Year, Dave. I didn't know that there was a time limit on it. I just kind of figured last Friday, was kind of like the day. If you were working last week, you put it in your email, and then this week it's like everyone's just kind of like, yeah, we're back.
We're back.
There's no cookies anymore. I don't know how to do my job. Let's pass on the niceties and let's just get through this week together, everybody.
Literally, most people are back into the swing of it this week because a lot of people had vacation before. But if you're like me, and I think you did too, but I worked during the holidays. And I had a little bit of a bug as well during the holidays. And I also had a disgusting taste in my mouth because of Canada, Hockey Canada. But we've talked about that in the first segment. I'll try not to bring in hockey to my point, but holidays have come and gone, Justin, and it's 2025 this year.
Yeah, I'll touch on that point a little bit, I guess, just when you, I don't know, don't pick the best players to do something or qualified coaching staff or anything. That's kind of what happens. You get beat up by quality programs, quality efficiently. And I'm not saying like Canada is an efficient quality program, but like the U.S. hockey program, obviously the Finnish hockey program, doing something right there. USA hockey, though, a juggernaut right now for sure. And we could transition that into we're moving into the NFL playoffs, college football playoff right now, and obviously the finest programs there are succeeding as well.
The finest programs, for sure. If you want to talk about a fine program with finishing first overall and first seed, an undefeated year with being favorites to win the national championship, the best team that Oregon has ever fielded, arguably the best team. They've had a lot of good quarterbacks in the past decade, Mariota, Nix, and now Gabriel, the list goes on. But that game against Ohio State, Justin, I was watching that game, and they were down 14-0 early, and I was watching it with my wife. I didn't go anywhere to watch it that night, everybody. Just so you know, I watched it at home with my wife and my dog. And I looked at Hannah, my wife, and I said, we're going to lose this game. I knew after that second touchdown that game was done. But you could just see it on the field. Ohio State what was that? That was the most juggernaut performance I have seen, and confident. They did not give two shits about Oregon and what they did this season. Oregon was flat-footed. That's a hockey reference too, but we'll use it in football. Flat-footed. They were not ready for kickoff. They were not the team that we saw all year, and that was disappointing that they went out this way, because this is a team that should have, I don't care what anyone says, should have won the national championship. That is how a team is built to win. But Ohio State said, did we forget that we're also a very good football program that could have arguably, or should have finished higher than what we did. Okay, but that loss to Oregon hurt them a little bit and all that this year, right? That hurts the seedings. There's a lot of effect. And Ohio State's a better team than what they were. So, and as I'm sitting here just confirming the seeding, it was 8th. Yeah, I thought they were 7th for a second, but Ohio State was 8th going against number 1 Oregon. And they didn't play like an 8th seed team, Justin. This looked like a juggernaut first seed Ohio State out there that made it look easy that whole game.
There's sometimes moments in a game or a season for any team really that sort of like, I don't want to say it's a make or break moment, but it galvanizes a team. And like the worst thing that could have happened to Ohio State all year, and I would imagine in the coaches' minds, in the team's mind, players' minds, you just don't lose to Michigan. And then that's what happened. And from that point on, Ohio State's had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you play against anybody who's in the nothing to lose mentality, that's a problem sometimes when you're just going out and trying to play either your game or play into your script or play into however. Ohio State's just there to play it out. And now like they
beat Tennessee in the first game, Justin, 42-17.
Yeah.
I saw that win and I said, oh shit. And
no,
that was not Ohio State that we saw that had some struggles throughout the season. That's the Ohio State that we should have seen all season. This is the true Ohio State team.
They're I'm gonna use one of our swear moments here today, but they're playing fuck you football right now. Like Dan Campbell style football. Like it's just
Yep.
I mean, Ohio State doesn't want to hear that they're playing like a good quality
Detroit football.
MCDC over there, but
see, but that's a team. I know Notre Dame had a good game against Georgia too. Okay, like Notre Dame's looking good. My prediction's out the toilet. It's in the shitter. I think yours is also in the shitter.
Yeah, no, mine's a garbage dump.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this right now because we get a fresh guess. It's going to be Ohio State, Notre Dame in the final, which is great.
Banana sandwich, to be honest. That's must-see TV.
Delicious. And Ohio State's winning it. If they especially keep playing this way, nobody is touching them. Nobody. I'm sorry, Texas fans. Sit back, buckle up, okay? Because if Ohio State plays the way they did last week, Howard, they throw the ball. Defense was like, in your face. It was ridiculous what I was watching. And it said 41-21 is the final score. That's what it says, obviously, right in the Rose Bowl, all right? Let me tell you this right now. That is not what the score should have been, okay? It should have been 41-7 the way Ohio. I think in Oregon, I had to, believe it or not, in the second quarter or beginning of the third, I was like, oh, my God, maybe Ohio or maybe Oregon will have a miracle comeback. Then next play, Ohio's like, just kidding. No, not happening. Running the football, dangerous. Throwing the football, dangerous. Defense, dangerous. Everything was just dangerous. And they've been like that they've been starting to get consistent. But basically, since the start of this playoffs against Tennessee, now Oregon, they're going in against Texas on a high right now. And if they embrace that high and have that confidence and they just go with that, as Justin has said, football, they're going to walk into that national championship and they're going to start engraving the name by the end of that first quarter in the national football, in the championship. But I will say, as an Oregon fan, it was a great season to watch.
Yeah, heck of a season.
It was nice. I've seen a lot of good seasons, obviously it's the first season in the Big Ten if you're Oregon, which is nice. Now, I should have went to see them at the Big House. I wish I would have. I don't know if they're ever going to field a team this good, but they'll have the opportunity now more so because they're in the Big Ten. They should be competitive for another year. I think next year they'll be a competitive team, but not as competitive. But this was still a good season to watch. And same with Boise State, right? Running back central. It was all the storylines this year in college, I feel, really set us up for a very successful overall season. It's still not done. It's been a lot of good storylines. Sanders, the list goes on. It's been great to see.
Might be an unpopular opinion, but the college football regular season was a lot more exciting than the NFL regular season.
I don't mind that opinion. I like it. I'm not saying that because I'm an Oregon fan. Just in general, I was more invested.
College was just fun to watch this year. I mean, sometimes college ball just gets a little dry. And it's not super interesting. It's just sometimes they're just kids playing football. And sometimes you got like superstars. And this year was just the last couple years, honestly, have been unreal. But this year the storylines were unbelievable.
And Ohio State's a hop and a skip from here too. You can hear the noise right from the Canadian border with this team. There's a lot of Ohio State fans in this community as well that are invested.
That's just Lions fans. It's just Lions fans.
Lions just absolutely hot. Now, the one thing I'll say about college football, Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Look, when I look at Bill Belichick, and I had an article up on NFL.com. There it is. News has learned. Okay, has heard from multiple teams. Okay, I wanted to click this article because I was skimming through it before the show came on, and they use the term in a surprise move that Bill Belichick agreed December 11th on a 5-year contract, 5 years, to become the head coach of the University of North Carolina. And you can check this out on NFL.com. But there was obviously a lot of teams that were reaching out, from different sources. There was the Raiders apparently that were involved. Maybe the Bears were reaching out, but we heard a lot more about the Raiders were a team, and also Jacksonville was another team that was apparently in the mix. But now with the Las Vegas Raiders having Tom Brady as a minority owner, that's where a lot of the rumors started surfacing, right? So in a surprise move, though, like I said, on the 11th, he agreed to to go to college football, and obviously he signed a pretty little payday with the University of North Carolina. But that is a name that's going to bring in some names to North Carolina now, right? You have Sanders, you have Oregon that went to the Big Ten that has had a good presence and very nice jerseys. But besides that, Ohio State, these teams are really stepping up and are being really attractive for players to play. Obviously, Michigan had a very good recruiting season this year, and there's a lot of question to how that went the way it did, but I won't say anything on this show. If you know, you know. I really think that the University of North Carolina bringing Belichick is not a surprise move. I'm not surprised Belichick went to the college route. He's accomplished what he needs to in the NFL. He's older. Being honest, he's older. College football is, it's a different opportunity for him. It's like it's going in a different direction. Bill Belichick is full of surprises, and this isn't a surprise, even though it seems like it is.
He knows what the NFL needs. It sounds weird, but he knows what players have to have skill-wise to get there, and he knows what the league needs from players. And so if you can create a pipeline, because I don't think there's a lot of programs that are trying to become a feeder system to the NFL.
Good point. Yeah.
They're just trying to win football games. And I think he understands that the University of North Carolina isn't necessarily a football powerhouse.
But he wants to be there.
He wants to be, it just
wants to help make it a better program because it has the capabilities of being a very good program. It's obviously a very good basketball program, University of North Carolina. It has the capabilities of being a popular place for people to be.
It's a name. It's a name and a brand.
Yeah.
They now have a coach and a program because Michael Lombardi's there too, running the general manager of the football program. And he's no slouch either. He was, I believe, the GM of the Patriots for most of those years.
Look at that.
When things were going. Yeah, crazy. But it's also, I think it's good for players.
Yep.
There may be some guys that are on the cusp of, you could be a quality NFL player, or and not only just players, you may be better suited as a coach. You may be better suited for this. And that program is not just about players; it's about getting people opportunities. So there might be develop coaching. Develop
younger coaches to develop and make them stronger in the game, prepare them from the NFL. And look at the effect of having big names coaching. Sanders, right? Colorado. You got Belichick. You've had why the heck?
I believe Michael Vick's somewhere.
Yeah, Michael Vick also has went somewhere. But who was I thinking of? The coach of the Chargers, Harbaugh. The Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Harbaugh had a good effect in Michigan, right? And he went back to the NFL. But obviously, with Michael Vick, I think it's Norfolk State.
It's not like a super popular university, but it's just an interesting one. It's like Deshaun Jackson got a coaching job somewhere too.
Yeah, it's Norfolk State University. I was correct. So December to Norfolk State University. He's the 19th coach in the club's history. So now you got a player join there. You had Mayo, who just got let go by the Patriots, right? I think that's somebody who should be looking at going to the college route and stepping away from the NFL and going to the college route. I think
he's just better suited as a coordinator than he is.
Or yeah. But sorry, you were saying before Vic. I think I interrupted you there. Sorry, I wanted to confirm that it was in fact Norfolk. But
yeah, train of thought is gone on that one.
But that's all good. That's my bad. We do that.
It happens.
I think the overall college football space has improved in exposure, and it's good to see because college football is massive in the States. We don't have that here in Canada. Okay, those in the United States. It's not the same here. It's for college football. It's not. And you know that. Look at our CFL compared to your NFL. Sorry, just saying how it is. Isn't it exciting how you want to put the CFL is for Canadian football can be? The NFL and CFL, it doesn't belong in the same sentence because the NFL is what it is. College football is what it is. And it's light years that it's so entertaining. And college football should have that investment because of how it helps develop these men into the NFL and having the right coaches and having names that are big. Obviously, coaches that with Ohio State, coaches of Michigan, Oregon, all these great programs have been great. But seeing Vic join Norfolk, seeing Belichick go to Carolina, those are great to see. These programs
it puts asses in the seats on game day, and I mean that's what some of these programs need. They need money to keep going. I'm not letting universities cry broke here by any means, but I can't imagine that a traveling football program of those magnitudes are cheap to run either. So.
No, they're not, and they're paying for these guys to be there.
Well, yeah, they got to buy them Lamborghinis and shit like that. So because they do that in college now,
they do. Rich boys. Now you have the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. That's going to be on January the 10th at 7:30. That is Ohio State, Texas, and then you have on the 9th, which is tomorrow, the day of this recording. So by the time this is going to be uploaded by the 10th at the latest. So by the time you listen, maybe you've watched both football games already. So that's why we're not talking about the football games because we don't want any non-relevant news.
No interference.
No interference, exactly. But we did predict the championship. See if we're right. Comment below if we're wrong and chirp us. But that's January 9th at 7:30. You got Notre Dame and Penn State. So you got some good football coming up these next couple days in the college before it leads up to the national championship on the 20th. But it's just around the corner, Justin. As we segue from from NCAA, we jump to the NFL. NFL football NFL playoffs is here. And blink of an eye, it feels like just yesterday we were to starting season 8 of In the Pocket, and now we're in the playoff time of In the Pocket. And there's a lot of interesting storylines that led up to the playoffs. There's a lot of disappointments this year in the season, but given time right now, we don't need to worry about doing grades in the season. I think after the Super Bowl is crowned and we have the winner for the Super Bowl, I'd like to backtrack to see who surprised you this season, who didn't surprise you this year.
Well, let the playoffs.
Nice. Let it play even before the Super Bowl. We can do that so we can have some extra. Obviously, people be searching Super Bowl a lot on the clips, so we can make sure those are up. So if you keep an eye on our clips, that's the Game Sports Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. But playoff football is here, Justin. I want you to start us off with recapping what the games are, maybe what led us to this point, if you'd like. Then I can do a little reaction to that. Then we can pick the games this week.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC is real interesting. Like, what a crazy friggin' year that was. 3 teams from the NFC North making it into the playoffs.
Yep.
Like that's kind of silly. Especially, just in the history of that division. I mean, most of us in this area have been exposed to Detroit Lions football for a long time. Yeah. Green Bay Packers football, Chicago Bears football. There hasn't been a lot of winning. The Packers, they got a Super Bowl mid-2000s there with Aaron Rodgers. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty mediocre football around here. And on the AFC end of things, EJ, the Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati. To a lesser extent, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, but it hasn't. And now you look at it, and even from the AFC end, Baltimore's playing Pittsburgh this week. Cincinnati was a sniff away from the playoffs. And honestly, had Cincinnati made the playoffs, I would have considered Joe Burrow maybe for an MVP run this year.
Right? The guy deserves so much better this year. So
Like, they
much
just
better.
a couple bad beats, and that's where it. Like, they were a playoff team. Like the Colts, I hate bringing up. They should have fired everybody, and they didn't. But like the Colts were a win and a half, essentially, a win and some help away from the playoffs, and they had no business sniffing around that. Yeah. Absolutely none. Like Houston barely deserves to be there, but they won our division, so they have to be in the playoffs. Would you rather watch the Chargers Houston this weekend or the Chargers Bengals?
Chargers Bengals.
Exactly. Like,
I've never been a fan. Like, you could compare leagues about how you do it: the MLB, the NHL, the NBA, and how they do seeding and playoff arrangement. I've always been a fan of the top. You choose your select teams, that amount of teams that are going to make it. In the AFC, the NFC, you just choose whoever, how many, with the number, whatever the number is supposed to be, right? And if you're supposed to have, and if I think I'm right, 4, 5, 6, 7 from each side. 7 from each side. I counted that top of my head, I promise. 7 on each side. So you pick the top 7 in the end of the season standings. I've always been a fan of picking the true 7 to go on, no matter what wins the division. But then you say, what's the point of winning a division title? Screw the divisions. But then you can't say screw the divisions because you have the time zones, you have to have, and I get that. But you don't need, if you really don't need to have divisions,
like, it should be the best.
The best 7 should be in the playoffs. And it's unfortunate because if you look at the NFC, it's crazy. The Lions, Vikings, and Packers all having 11, 14, 15 wins, respectively, in the same division is insane. Okay, that is something that you will not see all the time. No, not all the time. You might see 2 teams have a double-digit win column in their division, like you do see in the NFC East. I believe the Eagles and the Washington Commanders do. So if you look at other divisions, the FC West, they had 3 teams being double digits, which is crazy to the Broncos.
Look at the Colts division, like the AFC South. I think Houston made it in at like 10-6.
10-7.
I mean, like it's not a terrible record. Don't get me wrong, but it's nothing to brag about. Like,
and when I look at my notes here, I have it noted to myself that about standings in general, always have the best teams go. I obviously don't have that noted because that was free speech here. But one thing I've noted that when I look at teams that are top in the AFC, the Bills are better than the Chiefs, in my opinion. I am about Josh Allen this year. I think that's some great football that he's played, and he's winning your MVP. And when I think of the NFC, I'm thinking Lions, baby. Those are the 2 top teams in the NFC and the AFC. But what I want to start seeing is leagues trying to come up with something that actually has the best teams get in, because the Bengals are better than the Texans. The Steelers, look, I'm a Steeler fan, people. I'm big. And this year was a hot start. It was very hot. It was a sexy start. They were winning football games, but it's been brutal since, and they're starting to show that they may actually be frauds. And it's not because of their defensive side of the football. They've had some injuries, but so have the Lions. That didn't stop them, so that's no excuse. That is a team that is defensively built for playoff football. Offensively, there's been something with Pickens that's off. He's been hurt. Russ Wilson had a quick shot of mojo for a couple weeks, and he caught fire.
Now he's Denver Russ again.
Exactly. Now you got the Ravens, who have Derrick Henry, who is and Lamar Jackson, who is an absolute truck. Both guys are trucks. MVP guy in Jackson, and arguably the running back season that Henry had this year was stupid. So, you're going into trouble this week. But the Ravens deserve to be. But are the Steelers truly better than the Bengals? I'm asking you that as a Steeler fan, right? So, and I know the season can go the way it can. Shit happens, dude. You don't make it. You have a good team. You have injuries to deal with all year. You get a shot of bad luck. You don't make it. That's fine. But I would like to start seeing the schedule a bit more balanced within all the leagues and sports where you play in your division, AFC, NFC, or Atlantic, whatever it is, Eastern, Western. You play at the certain amount of teams a certain amount of times. It's fair matchups against everybody, and truly the best 7, or if you're in another league, the best 8, whatever, get through. I would love to see that. It makes it for way more exciting football and games to be more meaningful in the year, because you know what? You can have a division that sucks all year, okay, and that you can win the division, you get in, but then guess what? You might win the Super Bowl because you guys just catch fire. But truly, is the Texans better than the Bengals?
I mean, the record says yes, but I mean, everyone knows.
I'm going to say, and I'm a statistics guy, screw statistics. Bengals are better than the Texans on paper, and truly as a team, they're better. But
it's tricky. I mean, the Bengals get to play Cleveland twice every year, but that division's tough. Like, the AFC South is a shit show. Houston has 6 easy wins.
The Browns suck.
Right off the hop.
The Browns suck. Sorry. I know EJ's on the show to defend.
Yeah, but at least they play teams hard. Or they try to play teams hard. Like, AFC South, everyone's soft. Softer than fucking baby shit. Like,
but look at the disappointments this year. We're going to save this for another time, but Jacksonville, the Bengals, I guess the Bengals were a disappointment if you want to go there because they make the playoffs. Surprises the Broncos made the playoffs. Like Bo Nix said, "Hi, I'm from Oregon, and I'm going to play like the guy that was in Oregon."
Bo Nix and Sean Payton, they're a nice combination there.
They are.
Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. I mean, same thing with the Chargers being in the playoffs.
But like stories this year, great.
Chiefs defense has kept them in games that they don't have any business hanging around in.
They might not three-peat you, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Chiefs.
It's going to be annoying, though. We're going to be annoyed. They're going to win at least one game, and everyone's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Like,
and we're here. It's exact. And you know what? If they three-peat, we all know what's going to happen at the Super Bowl. Pick who the camera is going to pan to, and we know what's going to happen. Okay.
Andy Reid eating a cheeseburger.
Oh, best storylines though. Great, love those storylines.
It's good for TV.
I still think Mahomes is battling an injury still. There's something. Attack Mahomes. Attack him. That's all. If you can. Not easy. Easier said than done. I know I couldn't do it. The Cowboys not making the playoffs. I actually thought they'd have a better season this year. I had a little bit of hope for the Cowboys, but God, they suck.
Dak got hurt. Wheels came off.
Came off.
I mean, like they in the back half of the season, they were still a tough team to play.
And the Niners?
Niners, McCaffrey was just like most people in fantasy football that drafted McCaffrey. The Niners not having McCaffrey really, really screwed them over.
Everybody. And then finishing last, I didn't have that on my docket. But I like it, Justin. I think there's a lot of good storylines going into this, to the playoffs, a lot of good opportunity. I think the biggest pressure, though, in this playoffs is somebody in the AFC, and it's not the Chiefs. It's the Bills. That's where the expectation is, in my opinion, is on Josh Allen, not the Ravens. They have I'm not saying it's on everybody has the pressure. Everyone has it, but I think if there's one team that's I think feeling it and a little bit more of a microscope, but for me, like a little bit more of a zoom in, is the Bills.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really mad that that's the 1:00 game on Sunday too. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sorry for Tampa and Washington fans, but I would have rather the Buffalo game been the Sunday nighter.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's neither here nor there.
The games this week, you got the Chargers and Texans, Steelers and Ravens, Broncos, Bills, Packers, Eagles, Commanders, Bucks, Vikings, Rams in the wild card round. The divisional round will be on the 18th, which is next weekend, which will be obviously very, very interesting. And the Super Bowl, I'll remind people if you're wondering, when's the Super Bowl again? You're probably Googling on your phone. It's February 9th, just so if everybody wants to know. Justin, let's pick the games this week.
All right. Let's
go first.
Let me get it pulled up here. All right. Saturday afternoon, Chargers, Houston. I am taking the Chargers. Saturday night, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I'm going to take the Ravens in that one. Sunday, Buffalo, Denver. I'm taking the Bills. Green Bay, Philly. I'm taking the Packers in this one just because.
Nice.
Tampa, Washington. I'm taking Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield's just been pretty fun to watch.
So good.
And then I'm taking Minnesota over the Rams on Monday night because I kind of forgot that the Rams were going to be in the playoffs.
I had to go Chargers over Texans. I'm going to take the Ravens over the Steelers, and I'm a Steelers fan, ladies and gentlemen. How am I a true fan? Look, we're listening to a sports podcast. I don't want to sound like an idiot, okay? I got to be honest with you. I am going to be cheering, and if they win, I'm going to be celebrating, and I'm going to be jacked. But I got to be real with you. What I've been seeing going into the playoffs this week, and the last time that I bet against the Steelers to lose, they won. So maybe that voodoo will win. But Ravens, going to be very tight, very, very tight. But go Steelers. Yikes. I got the Bills over the Broncos. I got the Eagles over the Packers in probably an underrated best game of the week. Maybe that's not underrated, but I think that's going to be the most entertaining game of the wild card round. That's what I'm going to say. Buccaneers, Commanders, and I got the Buccaneers in that game. Baker Mayfield. That's all I thought of when I was making this pick. Just him elevating to a whole new level under in this light, and he was so good in the playoffs last year. I think Baker is going to rise to the occasion here. Vikings over the Rams. So the Lions are waiting and getting healthy. And for those that are Lions fans, prediction for the Super Bowl, Justin, I've said it since day one this year. I will say it again, people. I'm wearing blue, but I'm going to remind everyone the shirt is about a hockey reference. If you know, you know. Lions, Chiefs, Lions winning the Super Bowl. I would love to see Lions, Bills, but we know what's going to happen. The Lions, though, this year will win the Super Bowl. Calling it, Justin.
Yeah, I'm saying Lions, Bills. I think Josh Allen's going to earn his MVP, but he's not going to win the Super Bowl. So,
ooh, you got the Lions too. We got the Lions.
You know the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl. The Leafs are going to make a playoff run this year. And then we're going to find out in July that there's a fucking meteorite the size of Earth that's about to obliterate this planet. That's how that's going to shake out.
Yeah, and then all of our everything is out. And also on that July, the Blue Jays are going to sign a big and trade for a big star, and they're going to try to think they're going to go for a run.
No, the Blue Jays aren't going to do anything. They're just going to post articles about how they're in on everybody and then do nothing about it.
God, I can't wait to vent about that team in the next Strike Zone segment. But we're talking in the pocket here. Justin, a little bit extra. We were aiming for that 2025 sweet spot that we usually get, but a little bit over. We did say New Year's resolution.
It's not the worst.
It's not. But I want to say one thing before we go. I've wondering, obviously, E.J. Russell. I want to wish E.J. Russell all the best. He broke his ankle, actually, and he had surgery. So I know EJ's resting up and getting better, and he's been absent a little bit this year. There's obviously been schedule conflicts. There's been a lot going on, and he's been telling me to make sure I've been open about mental health. So I will say that on his behalf, that obviously mental health, he had to take time away as well from the show because of other things that he has had to handle, such as mental health, now this injury as well. So EJ Russell obviously is still a part of the Game Sports Podcast family, if you're wondering, because you obviously have seen EJ since 2016 and how he got on the show, but he's needed to take time away for the show, and we may not see him back this season. We're not too sure how that's going to shake out. It'll be all dependent on schedules and how EJ's feeling, but we would expect potentially EJ to be, obviously, he'll be back next season. So you got me and Justin for the remainder of the year, which is obviously, we're filling the void, especially with college football this year, Justin. Like, what the heck? There's been more college football conversation on this show outside of late Scott Nason, who talked about it all the time with Butch and EJ, and it hasn't been talked about on the show in over a couple years until this year. It's been more talk. It's been talked about, but I mean talked about.
It's been good stuff. I'm telling you, it's must-see TV.
It's not 2-minute warning NCAA edition anymore. It's actually like we got a full 10, 15-minute conversation about college football. It's terrific. I love it.
It's not me trying to talk basketball and slush my way through it. I actually kind of know what's going on.
Who's the GM of the Cavaliers? I wish I had your picture of your face in that moment on live TV. If you know this story, you should know if you're a fan of the show. But long story short, Justin got asked on live radio a basketball question about the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you know Justin, he ain't your basketball expert, okay?
No,
he's a sport expert, but I mean, he don't follow the GM of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I had a better chance answering a question about cricket. So,
yeah, we should try pickleball. Never tried it. Have you tried it?
No, you know what? I seriously want to try to understand cricket. Like, I've watched it on TV a couple times now, and like you look away for 2 seconds, and then you look back, and like the score went from being like 23 to like 40 to 150 to 23, and it's like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, what sort of unit of measurement do they use for scoring here?
And it takes sometimes long to finish a game.
And like people are into it. Like
it's Marie at the John Rhodes Community Center. If you drive past the John Rhodes, they have a league.
I know. I watched them after touch football one day. I was standing there. I probably looked like a creep on the other side of the fence, but
you're like,
I'm just trying to understand like what's going on. Like, sometimes you can watch something, like you watch hockey and you're like, okay, they get the puck, they put it in the net. Okay, that's how this works.
Yeah.
These
I don't
guys
want the Google version. I want someone to maybe come on here and talk to me about freaking cricket.
I just want to figure it out. That's all. I just want to understand. I'm probably not going to play. I doubt I'm good at it, unless maybe I can just be the guy that crushes dingers. I don't know. Do they crush dingers, or are they like low rollers? I don't.
Or is that an out? Is that an out?
That's what I mean. I don't understand it. I just want to know.
You could tell we don't know. I'm not going to Google it and pretend that I know. But
I need someone who understands that I'm fairly ignorant when it comes to new things.
And comment below to chirp us about talking about cricket on a football segment. But we do that. It's fun. It's fun. We're having fun, Lois.
Yeah,
we're having fun.
It's just fun.
Love it. It's just fun. Love
new
it.
year, new us.
Is it? But the same us, but new us. I just made no sense. In the Pocket segment, this is sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault-Ste-Marie, Ontario's best sports bar. Over 5 years in a row.
It feels like 10 now.
That's why I say over. And then obviously best wings. Look, you've heard it from me for years. Get down to Sports Center if you're in Sault-Ste-Marie. If you're not in the Soo, just check it out. Give them a follow. They have some good posts that they do. They do some contest giveaways.
Lunch
check
specials.
It out. Yeah, check it out. Like I said, if you're from out of town, you could be a part of a contest potentially. If you need any information, let the Game Sports Podcast know. We can connect you. But we're also powered by 91 Network. Remind you of that, the YouTube channel. And you can see us on Spaces. We've had a few weeks vacation for the Christmas holidays. We have 2 vacations a year, Christmas and the mid of August. And despite that I'm having a child, I will not be taking vacation. That will be my disconnect because I'll be off work for a few weeks, if not a few more than a few weeks. And this will be my connect. So don't worry about any extra vacation summer, but we're glad to be back in 2025. It's going to be the best year for the Game Sports Podcast. And no, I'm not just saying that because it's any which year. We have new partners with us, such as Soo Today and Spaces. A lot of big things coming for the show, both locally, regionally, and nationally. All that makes me feel good to say. There's a kudos and a touch to our friend Scott Nason. But that's all in motion, just like we envisioned. And I thank Justin, I thank Alex, I thank Brennan, I thank everyone who's been a part of not only this episode, but who's a part of the Game Sports Podcast family. And that includes you, the viewers and listeners. Make sure you hit like, follow, and subscribe. But don't hesitate to hit share. Don't hesitate to hit like. Don't hesitate to comment and say, you guys suck. I don't care. Comment below. We want that interaction. And all this work that we put into talking about it, not just because we enjoy it, because we do a lot, but we'd like to also try to get out there and connect with everybody that is on the level with us and also get our name out there. And if you love listening to us, make sure you help us by getting us out there in your community. Justin, we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. But you and I, we're not all over the place. Despite being overtime today, we've stayed on point with our topics. And after this week, sort of until the end, after this week, we'll be back next week on our usual schedule, our usual upload day, which is usually on Thursdays, sometimes Wednesdays, week pending. So we'll be back next week with another edition of In the Pocket, which will be about our divisional round, and we'll have some more college football to talk about that, my friend. So thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here. Good to chat sports. Good to get my cricket rant out of my system. And let's see what these college games got tomorrow and Friday.
Excited. And I got to say it, best background on the show.
Hey, TIE Fighter's up there now too, eh?
That is so cool. I don't know why I pointed at your thing. Yeah, there we go. That's the way I gotta point that way. Love that. But my favorite thing is that thing down there, the Joker.
Right there.
The Joker thing, yeah, big fan. And the X-Wing. Jeez, can't forget the X-Wing. My God. Anyways, listeners, thank you for tuning into the Game Sports Podcast. And again, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. Until next week, I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.